Welcome to your safe space, the podcast your partner, friends, parents, whoever thinks it's dirty. Don't have time to read books? Want to understand all the jokes in the TikToks? We got you, fam. We're the Spice Traders, and we deal in spicy books. I'm Katie, and I need it to make sense.
I'm Liz, and I'm hypercritical.
Before we get to today's episode, we want to encourage you to check out our Patreon, where we publish extra episodes every other week, as well as ad-free versions of our regular feed episodes. Also, any series we read past the first book, all that coverage is Patreon only, so think series like ACOTAR, Fourth Wing, Guild. Anyway, we really appreciate the support and encouragement to continue doing something we love and sharing it with you.
Thanks in advance for checking that out. As always, we start this episode with 3 things. First is a generic trigger warning. You can find specific triggers for this book in our show notes, so please check those out. We also use foul language and talk a lot about sex. If you have sensitivity to either of those things, our podcast probably isn't for you.
Second, our episodes talk about books, the whole book, nothing but the book, so help me goddess. If you don't want something spoiled, don't listen to this episode.
And finally, we acknowledge that a good book can hit you at the wrong time. Our views discussed in our episodes are our opinion, and we don't want to diminish the work or the talents of the authors in our community. That said, we have some notes.
So Liz, what are we talking about today?
Today we're talking about Brutal Prince by Sophie Lark. This was published in 2020, and it's technically a series, the first book in the Brutal Birthright series, but they are individual standalones. So we've read other series like this, like Ritual, where you get the world set up in the first book, and then you follow characters that you've been introduced to. I don't think you really need to read them sequentially, though. You're just following different characters in the world. So this is the first one. It is 376 pages long, and that's a MIDI for us. Now, I know, Katie, you were getting confused with this as well. And I bring this up in relation to the cover. Every time I was thinking about this book, I thought it was a fae book because the cover is a white cover with strawberries on it, like a strawberry plant with a flower. And I was trying to think about why that was making me think of fae. And I think it's a combination of the name Brutal Prince, which makes me think of Cruel Prince, and then just like fairies and florals and fruits usually being part of that like a magic fae realm. Or my brain aligned Brutal Prince with Dark Prince of Christine Feehan. And so we double checked what this book was about before we started reading it. And it's a mafia romance, so it's none of the above.
Yep.
But I say all of that because we will talk about the purpose of the strawberries in this part. I don't really understand why it's on the cover, and I'm not really a fan of it. I haven't looked at the other covers, though, so I want to check that out now.
I mean, I know why it's on the cover. Or
Yeah.
I know why it could be on the cover, but it's not offensive. I like it. I think it's cutesy.
No.
It does kind of belie the interior of the book a little bit, I think.
Yeah, it does. And it's... Okay, and looking at all of the covers, they're just... They all seem to have just like a thing on them. It does belie the inside. It's super cutesy. It makes me think that it's going to be a fairy romance. And again, I know why it's there, and I'm glad we get why it's there, because it was going to piss me off. It just feels like such a minute detail. Like, this will make sense once we get into it, but why not put the watch on the cover? Like, it's something random, like
Yeah,
the pocket watch, the strawberries. Like, I don't know what else you would put on it. So it is inoffensive. It just confuses me about the content.
Yeah, and I swear there was like another Brutal Prince like romantasy book that I was thinking of.
I think Christine Feehan has one. Nope.
No,
Just Dark
she doesn't have
Prince.
one.
Nope.
Yeah, then I don't know where that's coming from, but it was very like stuck in my mind, and maybe it's like because of what was that other one? Vicious Darling, not Vicious Darling, Viciously Yours.
Viciously Yours, yes.
It's kind of in that same vein. It doesn't matter. I had a great time reading this book. I think, however you feel about the covers, like and the items on them, I think they look very nice together. Like,
yeah,
the
they
background's
do.
kind of white. The art for whatever's on the front is like very similar. And so like that pleases me. Like it was very clearly, these were designed with intention. So definite points for that.
And For sure. And they do look nice together. It was just like, it just seemed like this random little detail,
thing.
which I guess is kind of fun because it's almost like an Easter egg of like, well, what are the strawberries? And then you get to learn. Mm-hmm. I just thought it was going to play a bigger role. Like her nickname was going to be Berry or something. I don't know.
Right. That would be so strange.
It would be so strange. So like, I didn't mean for that to sound like that negative. It just like threw me for a loop because I had so many other connections with similar covers and similar titles that I was like, wait, what? Mafia? Okay.
I feel that.
All right. So let's get into it. Katie, why don't you kick us off?
All right. So first and foremost, this book is going to be split into 2 parts. So this part 1 will cover chapters 1 through 15. And then part 2 will cover chapters 16 onwards. And then after part 2, we will do our ratings. So this book is on Kindle Unlimited, which is great. And before we get into the book, we have a couple of things to cover. So one of them is a soundtrack. The soundtrack's pretty short, and I did actually know some of the songs on there, which was cool.
That was fun.
So that was fun. And then I'm not sure if this is like every edition that you can read, but like mine came with a bunch of like character art in the book. So before we actually get into the book, we get an art picture of one of our main characters, Ada Gallo.
Yeah, when you look at the title pages inside, it says illustrated edition. I don't think I've ever had a digital illustrated edition. Like I thought those are special editions.
Yeah.
So I do think that was kind of fun because we get art throughout the book.
Yeah.
Like randomly in the chapters, at least 3 or 4 pieces so far, I think.
Yeah, and some of the art pieces are steamy, which
They're
was
like
interesting.
Almost not safe for work kind of steamy. And I was like, this is just on the free KU version?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Noted.
I'm not mad about it at all.
No, I wasn't mad about it.
I do want to say I was surprised we didn't get a trigger warning only because in the first 15%, there is some like slurs and hate speech related to Italians and Irish people. And I was like, maybe could have used a trigger warning, but whatever.
Yeah, I was also a little bit surprised. I mean, obviously we have our trigger warning in our show notes, and so definitely check those out. But it was a little bit like, I think especially because increasingly when we go through these books, there is a trigger warning, even if like we personally find the triggers like very inoffensive. Like it'll be like, oh, somebody ate a tomato. If you have a tomato allergy, just like trigger warning, right? That kind of thing. But this one didn't have anything.
No, and it's not like super gratuitous for the triggers, but there were a couple things that I was like, well, I don't know.
It's also like kind of a violent book. Like it is about mafia, right? Like it's not overly graphic, I would say, but it is enough. It's specific enough to get the point across, right? Like,
yeah.
So, anyway,
people get beat up and stabbed and stuff. I do want to make one other note related to the illustrations in the book and the cover. The art style is the same, which is nice. It's kind of this like, I don't know if this is how it's made, but it looks like if you've ever used Procreate, they have like watercolor brushes. It's this like digital watercolor vibe. And I like that they're the same.
Yeah, I did too. It was like the same vibe throughout the book.
Yeah, and I appreciated that.
So then we get into the book itself, and I'm going to say right now that this book is told in first person from both our female and male main characters. So it's Ada Gallo and Callum Griffin. So we just kind of alternate back and forth between their perspectives. So to that end, we start with Ada, who is at dinner with her family on their balcony. They live in Chicago on kind of a richer side of town, and she's sitting there with her father and 3 brothers, trying to ignore the fact that there are obnoxious fireworks going off at a house nearby to celebrate somebody else's birthday. This is particularly galling because that house belongs to a rival gang, the Callums. And it's here that we learn that Ada and her family head up the Gallo mafia in Chicago. They're Italian, and they are old-style mafia, so like, hey, that's a nice bike. It'd be a shame if something happened to it kind of thing.
Yeah, like they make their money from like money laundering and strip clubs and like bars. Extortion. And other above board things, but a lot of underboard things.
Drug trafficking,
Yeah, weapons trafficking.
So it's during this dinner that Ada convinces her youngest brother to go with her to this party at the Callum's house and essentially crash it. So as the two of them are sneaking down after dinner to the garage, they're joined by the other two brothers who are like, I mean, if you're going to have fun, we want to have fun too. So they all end up driving over to the Callum's place.
It's would be the Griffin's place because Callum's his first name.
Oh my gosh, you're right.
I was like, wait, did I not know his name the whole time?
You're so right.
It is.
It
is his place.
It is his place, but their last name is Griffin, which is
the
okay,
first
that makes
name
so
for a
much
last
more
name.
sense. Because even as I was saying it just now, I was like, Callum and Gallo are like very like similar. I didn't like. Why didn't I catch that when I was reading it? Like it sounded wrong to me, and I was like, well, maybe I just didn't read it at the same time. Like, nope. Totally different.
It's just
name.
the Griffin.
Anyway, it's worth saying, I guess, at this point that the Griffins are Irish mafia. So
Yeah.
there you go. So they drive over to the Griffin's place.
Nailed it. Which is Callum's place, to be clear.
Right. It's not wrong. It's just not quite right.
Yeah. He's just not a the. He probably thinks he is, though.
Okay. I think my notes almost exclusively referred to them as the Callums, so I'm gonna have to watch that.
You can do it. You can just say Callum's to Callum's place.
To Callum's place. Yeah, he's the only one that really matters, so.
Honestly, he is. Although I think his mom is pretty rad. I gotta be awesome. Honest. Gotta be awesome.
His mom, Imogen, is pretty cool.
I like her a lot.
Okay. So, anyway. We learned during this interaction that Dante is Ada's oldest brother. Nero is the second oldest brother, and Sebastian is her youngest brother, with whom she's closest to in age. Dante and Nero are like pretty scary mafia dudes, but like obviously they have a soft spot for their sister. But Sebastian is essentially described as being like a golden retriever puppy who's like super into basketball.
He's like a star in college.
Right. So Sebastian is the youngest. He's still in college, but Ada is somewhere in her mid-20s. So she's still taking classes, but she's not fully graduated yet. So on the way over to the party, Ada tells us that she hopes that her ex, Oliver Castle, isn't at the party, or if he is, that she doesn't run into him. She tells us, quote, I broke up with him 3 months ago, but he isn't taking the hint. He might need to take a mallet to the head instead if he doesn't stop annoying me.
I've seen foreshadowing.
Yeah. So when they get to the Griffin's house, they bribe the doorman to be added to the list, and they are led straight through the front door. They don't even have to sneak around. Most of the party is happening in the backyard where the fireworks are, and Ada even hears a rumor that Demi Lovato is going to show up later and do a show, which I appreciated. They were just like casual displays of wealth, but we didn't have to stick around and like hear the concert.
Yes, and that's how you use real things in the book. I think like there's some name dropping in this book, but it made sense in the context and it wasn't annoying. Usually that drives me crazy. I had no problem in this.
Yeah, I didn't have a problem. So her brothers break off immediately and go their separate ways, but Ada has to pee. Rather than go to one of the fancy porta potties that they've been brought in for the party outside, she sneaks inside the house to use one of the fancy bathrooms. Once she's done, she decides to snoop a little bit further and goes up to the second floor where she assumes most of the family actually lives. She talks about how the first floor felt like too sterile, like nobody, like it was just essentially waiting to have a photo shoot done all the time. And she wants to see like how these people actually live.
I would also want to know.
Yeah, same. So on the second floor, she finds a library, and once inside, she sees a mantle, and above that mantle, there's this portrait of an older woman. On top of the mantle, there are 3 objects: a carriage clock, an hourglass, and a pocket watch. Without thinking, she grabs the pocket watch and puts it in her pocket.
Kleptomaniac.
I know, just like, this is mine now. Okay,
Girl, why? Okay,
Yeah.
Whatever.
Her snooping is interrupted by the sound of clinking glass just outside the door, and she has to quickly hide because Callum Griffin comes into the room. So she knows Callum on sight and knows that she's in deep shit because he's like the worst person to catch her snooping since he's the oldest Griffin, child, heir apparent to the mafia empire. So unfortunately, it looks like Callum's going to stick around for a little bit because he sits in a chair and starts scrolling on his phone, leisurely sipping his scotch. Ada is uncomfortable in her hiding spot and doesn't know how much longer she can bear it, especially because she's right next to the fire and it's not particularly cold out. So she concocts a plan to set one of the curtain like ties on fire to distract Callum enough that she can dart out. But this goes horribly wrong and it sets all of the curtains on fire, causing an actual like house fire that needs to be dealt with immediately.
So this is the first instance where she's just kind of manic pixie dream girl, but in a violent way. Like she's a kleptomaniac for no fucking reason. And then she can't figure out how to like see herself out. So she's like, I'm just going to light the curtains on fire. It'll be fine, right?
It'll be fine. These are probably not synthetic. It's going to be just fine.
Girl, just take the pocket watch you already stole, yeet it across the room. And then when Callum goes scurrying after it, leave.
Right.
You don't have to burn their house down.
Yeah. But we talked about this in our debrief a little bit. I'm not a super fan of manic pixie dream girls, but if you're going to do it in a violent way because she's just like, there's no chill. She's 0 to 100 on the violence scale, like pretty consistently through this book, which I think is pretty like realistic having been brought up in the mafia.
It's super realistic. And that's why it didn't bother me either. But I do have to call it out because some of her choices, I'm like, Ada, my girl.
My lady.
What the fuck are you doing?
Why did you think that was going to be a good idea?
Yeah. And spoilers, it's not.
It's not. So Ada uses this distraction to exit the room and run downstairs to find her brothers so they can get the fuck out of there before anybody realizes that they, the children of a rival gang, have infiltrated the party and started a fire.
Yeah, good call.
Yeah. We then switch to Callum, who gives us more information about his family. The party that's happening that night is for his younger sister, Nessa, who is a people pleaser. We learn that he also has a middle sister named Rihanna, and she's ambitious, but she's not very effective. And then, of course, Callum is the oldest. He talks about how his parents have very high expectations for him because they have made their organization so successful. We learn that because of these ambitions, he's running for alderman of the 43rd Ward of Chicago, which is a pretty prestigious position. It's an elected position, and that election will happen within a month. The person who holds this position includes some of the choicest spots in the kind of Chicago neighborhood universe, I guess. It's a powerful position that's ripe for corruption, and Callum fully intends to take advantage of this without, of course, getting caught, like a lot of the other people who have held this position. So he tells us that he has some competition for this. One of them is a woman who's an anti-corruption candidate who's not very strong. And then the other person is an Italian who obviously has the Italian vote, which is potentially a big problem for Callum. We learn that the reason that he sought refuge in the library was because he's not very interested in the type of party that's being thrown for Nessa, even if he's happy for her to be able to celebrate. He tells us that the portrait above the mantle is of his great-great-grandmother, Katrina, who came to Chicago as a part of the potato famine in Ireland and started the family business.
Every time I read, every time I read Nessa's name, I read it as Nesta. And I had a really hard time believing that she was a nice person. And she is, but like those were just in my head. I was like, it's Nesta and she's mean.
That's really funny.
I couldn't do it. And then we see her and she's such a sweetheart. And I'm like, is she though?
Is she though? Is it all just a farce? I couldn't help but read her name as Nessie, like Nessie.
That makes sense. I can see that.
So when the fire is set, Callum realizes that he hasn't been alone and he chases Ada down the hallway. At the top of the stairs, he glimpses just enough of her and her brothers to realize that the Gallows have infiltrated the party. But he's really unsure why. Before he gets a chance to ask them, though, they are nowhere to be found. When he goes back into the library to see whether anything's missing, that's when he realizes that his grandmother's pocket watch is gone, which to him doesn't make any sense because the only value it has is sentimental.
Because she's a kleptomaniac.
And he's pissed because not only is it like a sentimental value, but he tells us how each one of those artifacts belongs to each one of like him and his siblings. And the pocket watch is his. And so he's like mad that it's gone.
Big mad.
So he calls his personal bodyguard Jack to pick him up so they can pursue the Gallows and get revenge. So then this is where another Manic Pixie Dream Girl like real world thing happens because the Gallows have piled into a car and are going to Dave and Buster's because that's where some of the other people from the party are planning to hang out afterward.
Okay. This comes up a couple times. It's one of my, I really only have like 2 complaints in this book. I don't know enough about the mafia. I am not part of the mafia.
Really?
They do some weird. No, well, yeah. I mean, surprise. I know it was suspicious for a moment, but I'm not. They just seem like regular people. Like, they're going to Dave and Buster's, and we'll get to it later, but like, this girl has like no clothes. Like, they're wealthy, but like, you wouldn't think they're wealthy. Like, their house is kind of like shabby chic, like ramshackle. Like, I don't understand where their money is. They don't have, and we do get some, the Gallows wealth is different than the Griffin's wealth. But if they're on the same level of like power as far as mafia, it's just weird to me that she's just like, I live in jean shorts and I don't have a car. Why?
I don't have a car, but my brothers have all the muscle cars that they want.
Yeah, and she doesn't own any clothes. I don't know. It just kind of bugged me. Like, you're gonna go to Dave and Buster's? That's where all the rich kids hang out? Really?
That was my thought. I was like, you have these people that are partying at this mansion on the waterfront, and then they're not just going to stay there for an after party. They're going to go to Dave and Buster's. Like, that place is sticky.
Or go to like, yeah, and there's children. Go to like a rooftop bar or something.
Yeah, that was just a weird like thing to throw in there. Like, we're going to go to Dave and Buster's. Okay. So they go, but they get there like super early, and there's not anybody from the party there yet. So Ada and Sebastian decide to go for a walk, and there's a pier nearby that goes out onto Lake Michigan, and that's where they end up. This is where Callum and his goon Jack find them. Callum asks where the watch is, but they play dumb, so he has Jack start beating Sebastian's ass. That's when Ada confesses that she does have the watch, but rather than hand it over, she throws it into the lake. Jack stomps on Sebastian's leg, breaking it, but otherwise he and Callum are so distracted that Ada and Sebastian are able to get away. Callum is in fact so desperate to get the watch back that he actually jumps into the water after it.
Which is also a little manic pixie dream girl of him. It's Lake Michigan. That is not, it's not a little pond. You're not finding it, my dude.
You're not going to, like, also it's going to be really fucking cold. It's nighttime. There were fireworks, which means it's nighttime. Like, you're not going to be able to see your hand in front of you.
Nope. And he says that too. He's like, it's all mud. It's all like pollution. I don't know what I was thinking.
I've made a mistake.
I have made a grave error.
So Callum doesn't understand the motivation behind what Ada and her brothers did, but he's pissed as hell. When he gets back to his house, his father is also very unhappy with him, but not for the reasons that Callum would suspect. His father is unhappy that Callum didn't tell him about the gallows, and then to compound that he went off on his own to try to find the gallows and rectify the situation. Callum's dad tells him to stay in his office and not move until he gets back. His father will be doing the damage control. He tells him, quote, "You are my eldest child and only son, Callum, but I promise you if you disobey me, I will cut you out root and branch. I have no use for you if you can't be trusted. I will strike you down like Icarus if your ambition outstrips your orders. Do you understand?"
Oof, that's a scary threat.
It's scary, and I also think that it's appropriate. Like, this is mafia.
Yeah.
Like, I believe him when he says that.
I believe him too. Like, this is a big problem, so like shut the fuck up or you're really gonna regret it.
Yeah, be a good boy. So Callum's father calls Ada's dad and asks to meet. So Ada and her brothers pile into a car with their dad, and they go to meet him on neutral ground. When they get to the meeting point, though, Ada and her brothers wait outside the room where Callum's dad and their dad speak. And a couple of hours later, they come out and announce that they have brokered an agreement. Callum and Ada will marry in 2 weeks and unite the two houses. This has the dual effect of negating any violence or retribution for what happened that night, but it also strengthens both of their positions in the underworld. Obviously, Ada isn't super jazzed about this, but her father tells her, quote, "I've spoiled you, let you run wild. You've never had to face the consequences of your actions. Now you will. You lit the match that started this particular blaze. It's you who will have to put it out again, not by violence, but by your own sacrifice. You'll marry Callum Griffin. You'll bear the children that will be the next generation of our mutual lineage. That is the agreement, and you will uphold it."
Which, again, these mafia fathers, I believe.
Yep. But Daddy, I love him.
But Daddy, I love him. Or, but Daddy, I hate him.
Yeah, exactly.
This was my only other kind of sticking point, is that we know that these are rival gangs, right? But we don't see enough of that. And I don't really want to change it because I don't want like a ton of backstory. But I really had to suspend my disbelief with like this being the resolution without any other like, we don't get any really history of like how they're rivals, where the problem is. It's just that like, we're rivals, grr. And I'm like, this seems like a really big solution to a problem that I don't see. And then later they're like one big happy family. And I'm like, you guys really moved past this super quick. And I don't buy it. I'm not mad about it. I'm here for the arranged marriage. Let's go. I know what I'm here for. But I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, it was like, it almost felt, because they do talk about like how they're rivals and like they're like mortal enemies, right? But it almost feels like they were just two companies in the same industry and went through a merger, right? Like
yeah, exactly. And they kind of like allude to like we've both lost people on both sides to like gang violence essentially, but we don't really feel any of that. So it just feels like exactly two companies going through a merger and not two mobs uniting.
Yeah.
And then there's no hard feelings. Like we'll get to it later, but Callum and her brothers they never fight again. They never have any like hard feelings. They're just fine.
Yeah, they have like one discussion that we'll cover in just a minute about like, you better keep in line and treat her nice. And like, that's it.
And that's it. Like I assumed when you would go on missions together, there would be a little bit more infighting, at least the first time, right?
Well, especially because like Callum's deuter fully broke Sebastian's leg, and like he was a basketball star and his career is like going to be over.
Yeah, and they all seem kind of fine with it.
You're like, oh well, you know, prices
them's the breaks.
Them's the breaks, kid.
It's just so I just had to point it out.
I'm with you. So when Callum's father delivers the news, Callum is equally as unenthused. But his father points out that he had become arrogant and that he needs somebody to temper his image, especially if he's going to win the election for the alderman seat. This arrangement also has the benefit of giving him the support of the Italian vote, effectively securing his victory. Callum's father tells him, quote, "You'll marry her, you'll be faithful to her, and you'll father children with her." They're really about this like children thing.
You're gonna have babies. Well, also, so one of his third rivals, right, was an Italian. Just fuck that guy, I guess.
Yeah, fuck that guy. I mean, the gallows are behind because you're married. You got an Italian wife or something.
Yeah, I was just like, okay, it's fine.
something identity politics, cool.
Yeah, fine.
So during this conversation, it comes to light that Callum's own parents had an arranged marriage, which is something that he never understood or knew about before now. Callum's taken aback because he always respected the relationship his parents had, and it sheds new light on the predicament that he's currently in. His father goes on to point out that they need the strength in numbers, especially with new criminal outfits starting up, like a Polish one led by a man named Zajic. Together, the Gallows and the Griffins are much more able to face that threat and win.
Cool.
Something, subplot, tension. Cool.
Yeah, the Polish are the problem.
Racist.
Okay, that's what I meant about the trigger warnings, because we get a whole lot of slurs toward Irish people, Italian people, and Polish people. Like, it fades away later, but I'm like, whoa.
Whoa. Very realistic, I think.
It's super realistic. I was just a little surprised.
Yeah.
That there wasn't
a trigger warning.
I don't care. Yeah, I'm not like offended. I was just a little surprised.
So Ada turns over her fate while she's visiting her brother in the hospital. Like I said, because his leg is broken, there's a very good chance that his basketball career is over, which makes this alliance all the more bitter. She talks about the ring that Callum's mother had sent over and how hideous it is and how much she hates wearing it. But Sebastian tries to assuage her fears and make her see the bright side of things.
Always look at the bright side of life.
Do-do, do-do-do-do-do-do.
Thank you.
We fast forward a little bit, and Ada and her family are going to her engagement party. This is when they officially announce their engagement to society writ large in Chicago. And they have to put on a convincing show because it's obviously very abrupt and out of the blue. The story that they're going with is that they were dating in secret and decided that they just didn't want to wait anymore and pretend that they weren't. And so they're getting married.
this is like a Romeo and Juliet thing, and you're going to tell me that everyone just accepts that you guys have been dating for 8 months? Okay.
Okay, cool.
You guys hate each other. Okay.
I mean, but do you hate each other, or
people.
is it just like surface level hate?
It's just surface level hate. You know, they get past it real quick.
Yeah. When Ada goes to the bar, she asks for a drink with strawberries in it. And this is when we learn that Callum is like deathly allergic to strawberries, which is an interesting and useful fact that Ada just tucks away for later.
Like a psychopath.
I know. Manic pixie dream girl, but with murder.
Yeah, which I'm okay with.
Yeah. She then joins Callum as he's talking to some of his friends. The woman that he's talking with is overly familiar and it makes Ada's skin crawl, so she very tactfully insults this woman with backhanded compliments.
She's really good socially.
She's really good. Callum takes her out of that situation as quickly as possible, and he tells her to grow up. But she points out that the woman's behavior was inappropriate, and if they're going to convince everybody that they're actually in love, that he needs to be equally disgusted. He's a little surprised that she's so amenable to making this lie work, but she simply tells him, quote, "In the midst of chaos, there is also opportunity."
I really like how we see parts of Ada unfurl, because honestly, in the first like chapter or two, I wasn't sold on her. I was like, you're a child. Why are we here? And I was like, oh, you're really smart, actually. And I think that's what Callum is feeling too.
Yeah. She also, I don't have it written down here, but she like tells us internally that she's thinking about this other phrase from like Lao Tzu's Art of War book, and like, okay, yeah. I love that you have read that book, this character, that's amazing.
Yeah, and like actually read it, not just sort of read it for school.
Exactly. So later on in the party, a very influential woman comes up and congratulates the two of them on their engagement, and then congratulates Callum on running for the seat. He implies that he could help her, but when the woman walks away, Ada points out that this woman doesn't want anything to do with the thing that Callum just offered to her, because it turns out Ada has very perceptive information about what actually motivates this woman, and that impresses Callum and his parents.
She's impressive.
Yeah, I really liked this interplay because it showed, or it kind of illustrated that, like, to your point, like, what kind of mafia are they? And it seems like the Gallows are very, like, old school, like, construction, trash, like kind of like grimy or more working class things. And the Griffins are like more posh mafia. And like they kind of look down at the Gallows for that. But like Ada's like, you guys are idiots.
She's like, I know so much more about the people you need to know about.
Right. This discussion is prematurely interrupted, though, by Oliver Castle, Ada's ex. He's hurt that she didn't tell him that she was getting engaged, but she takes every opportunity to put him in his place and remind him that they're not together and haven't been for a minute.
Get away from me.
Get away from me. This exchange makes Callum a little bit jealous because of the familiarity with which they interact, and it's clear that Oliver still feels entitled to Ada.
Oliver's gross from the start.
Yeah, really disgusting. Later, Callum asks his sister Riona about it, and she tells him, quote, Ada dumped him out of nowhere. Nobody could figure it out. Oliver is a catch. He's an only child. He's going to inherit all of Keystone Capital. Plus, he's good looking, charming enough, and she just dumped him on his ass. Wouldn't tell anybody the reason.
Girl doesn't need a reason, okay?
Right. I did like this intrigue of like, just...
Why?
Why'd you dump him?
I liked that too, and I liked... It's a pretty small environment. So I do like that Callum's sisters know a little bit about Ada and vice versa. They all kind of run in the same circles, which makes sense. And it just adds this level of intrigue and that like world building and relationship building, which I thought it was very well done without becoming incest spaghetti, because it easily could have been.
I totally agree. And what you said about like it not being a very big space, I think is important to point out, because very often some of these one-shot books can come off as like flat. But this one I felt like was very dynamic, and it effectively used like the space that it did have to make a compelling story.
Yeah, it was really well done.
Yeah. So at this point in the party, this is when we see Ada's older brother Dante threaten Callum to treat Ada well. And it's clear that both men feel protective over her, even if Callum is in denial about why. And this is like literally the only friction that Callum and Ada's brothers have, despite the fact that Sebastian's basically in the hospital for the rest of the book.
Yeah, and not walking. It's not great for him.
No. He'll be fine. Don't worry about it.
He'll be fine.
So over the next couple of days, Ada is roped into wedding planning, and she hates literally every moment of it. When she goes dress shopping, for example, with her new sisters-to-be and mother-in-law, she ropes Nessa into trying on dresses with her because it's clear that Nessa enjoys it so much more than she ever will.
I like seeing their little friendship develop.
I know.
It's nice. Because she has no friends, but it didn't bother me because it makes sense she would have no friends because she is a mafia child. Like, who are you going to be friends with?
Yeah, well, and she's got 3 brothers that she pals around with. Like, that's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
So from this appointment, a driver picks Ada up and takes her to a spa day that Callum has arranged for her. She enjoys it until the esthetician waxes half of her undercarriage without giving Ada any warning.
Fucking wild, because I don't know if you've ever gotten a Brazilian or a bikini wax, but the wax itself is warm.
Yeah.
How did you not feel that being applied to you?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know.
Like, she realizes it once she rips the strip off, but like it's distinct. It's warmer than body temperature. Like,
but I could also see that, like, maybe because she's not used to this kinds of thing, maybe she just didn't know what was happening.
yeah, and she does say that she's like kind of dozing off because they're like massaging her and like oiling her up. So it is possible she was just asleep and it's all kind of warm and toasty.
But
still what
really
a rude
funny.
way to wake up. It's so
Totally.
funny.
So
A warning would be nice.
It becomes clear with her exchange with the esthetician that, like, Callum particularly arranged this part. And Ada tells us, quote, "It's fucking humiliating. It's whatever the feminine version of emasculating would be. I'm like Samson. Callum stole my hair and stripped me of my power."
It was so funny. I'd be so mad.
I would be so
it's
mad.
such a violation.
Only I am the sole person who decides what to do with my puss. Thank you so much.
Yeah, especially without even like a conversation. Like,
No.
shame on these waxers also for just doing it.
Right,
I
like
don't
tap me
care
on the
that he's a
shoulder and be
mob
like,
boss.
"Are you ready to do this thing?" No. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely not. Disgusted.
So Ada spends the rest of the appointment scheming on how to get back at Callum. So then we're at the day of the wedding. Callum tells us that this is nothing like what he had pictured it to be. And he's determined to make Ada into the perfect wife, which means subservient and inoffensive to him. When he goes to grab his tuxedo and get ready, though, he finds a gift from Ada, which is a very old, very ugly, traditional Italian wedding suit for a man. He's about to throw a fit, but his mother, Imogen, joins him and tells him that he needs to stop being a baby and put it on because they don't have time to find him another tux.
So suck it up. Imogen does not care.
Suck it up, Buttercup. At the wedding ceremony, they reluctantly say their vows, and Callum holds Ada's hands probably a little bit too forcibly to get back at her for the suit. But when they kiss, he has an immediate allergic reaction because Ada's been eating nothing but strawberries all morning, and he collapses at the altar with an allergic reaction and is rushed to the hospital.
The man literally could have died.
Literally, yeah. Ada's happy as a clam, though, because she gets to spend their honeymoon night in the honeymoon suite at the Four Seasons by herself, which she thoroughly enjoys.
Of course.
Of course. But in the morning, when she has to move into the Griffin mansion, reality comes crashing back in. She's particularly met by Imogen, Callum's mother, who tells her, quote, "If you threaten what we're building or if you endanger any of the family when you lay your head down that night, you will never lift it up again."
Which is badass. I really like Imogen because she is such a backbone to this family, like a true matriarch. And something like, even the start of this reprimand is like, you're my family now. I will protect you until you fuck up.
Up and until you give me a reason not to.
And then I will kill you in your sleep. Good night.
Have fun. So then Imogen shows Ada to where she'll be staying, which is Callum's room, which is a little bit surprising to Ada since she doesn't really know the man at all. But I'm like, girl, you're married.
I know. And she even says, like, I thought it would be like a king and queen thing where I would have my own quarters. And it was kind of refreshing to me as a reader because we've read so many romances where they do have their own quarters.
Yes. It's like you're fully married, but like you are on opposite sides of the castle.
Yeah, and it's fucking weird. So it's nice. I'm like, no, girl, that's your bedroom.
Yep. Welcome.
Welcome.
So Imogen then tells Ada that Callum is also back home but is swimming. So Ada goes to find him, intending to apologize for giving him that allergic reaction in the trip to the hospital. But before she gets the opportunity to do so, he pulls her into the pool and forces her underwater to show her what it was like when his air was cut off from the strawberries.
Vicious.
Vicious.
She's like, I thought you would just get some hives. And he's like, no, girl, I could not breathe.
She's like, how was I supposed to know that? I literally know nothing about you.
Yeah, which is fair.
So I'm not going to lie, like, especially Callum's treatment of Ada, like this, like, dunking under the pool thing and, like, holding her hands too tight. I had to keep reminding myself that they're mafia people and they, like, don't pull punches, because I was a little bit like, but just a little bit.
Exactly. And that's kind of why I also was a little surprised that there wasn't a trigger warning, because we almost get some of this, almost like that consensual non-consent, some straight up abusive things. Like, this is like straight up abusive.
Yeah.
Like, we have the same scene in the first book of Zodiac Academy, and like neither of us were okay with it.
Right.
So it's like, okay, it makes sense for the characters, but it's a little uncomfy.
It's a little uncomfy. And I think, like, if we're going to make the Zodiac comparison too, like, one of these reactions was like a true reaction to something that happened. Like, she did try to kill him.
Yeah.
Zodiac Academy, completely unprompted.
Exactly. And so there is a distinct difference there. But even later, and you can cut this out, but like when we get to the like spanking scene,
yeah, oof.
I'm all in for that. But the first like page and a half of that, I was like not into it. I was like, she's not having fun. And then she starts having fun and it's great. But at first I'm like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I had that same thought. I forgot about the spanking scene until you just brought it up. But I feel the same way. It's just like, ooh, it kind of walks that line a little bit. And like, look, I'm not mad about it. I had a great time. And we get a happily ever after. So like, it's fine. But there was a little bit of like, ooh.
A little of the consent question for a while.
Yeah. So Callum is pleased that he got one over on Ada, but he also feels a rush of attraction and excitement when he held her so closely, and that confuses poor Callum. He's just a little baby.
Poor Callum. This is a little guy.
Once he's back inside, he runs into his father, who reminds Callum that he needs to seal the deal biblically with Ada so that their marriage is real.
Is that still a thing? Like, if they never had sex, is that like grounds for annulment? Is that a legal thing?
No. Like,
is the law in our bedroom? I know, but it is in other ways.
Had you asked me this 10 years ago, I'd have been like, that can't be a thing. Now? Probably.
I think it might be.
I think it might be. Did y'all have sex? Did you put your poo-pee inside her hoo-ha?
Well, because it's like the olden days when they would like check the sheets for blood or something in the next morning. I'm like, really?
I think where I forget his name, but where Callum's dad is coming from might be more from like so you're gonna start making babies like tonight, right?
Yeah, like you gotta get on that.
It's still weird.
Her hoo-ha. And that's where like the non-consent thing comes in, right? Because like neither of these people want to have sex, and everyone's like, "You're gonna have sex tonight, right?"
Right.
And they're like,
"You're gonna do it."
No, you're gonna in my home, in my parents' home.
Absolutely not. That's the other thing that's kind of weird about this is like, y'all are living with your parents.
Why do they all live together? At least this is like a mansion, and in the first couple of chapters, we get the little one-line fixer of like his room is kind of a suite on the other side of the library. You can like only get there by going through the library. But like at the Gallows house, they just live in this like little space all on top of each other.
Yeah. I mean, they do say that like the Griffin house is like 15,000 square feet. So like, sure.
Huge.
That makes sense. The Gallows live in like an old Victorian mansion, like that's creaky as shit. You can hear somebody breathe, let alone have an orgasm. Like it's going to be awkward.
Yeah. And if you're all wealthy mafia people, why can't you have your own homes or like apartments? I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, so
what do I know? Security.
Fully at the end of this book, they do go apartment shopping. So like that is a thing. But like, at least in the short term, I'm just like, ooh.
Ooh. Especially when your dad's like, you're going to bang tonight, right? Like, no, sir. It's weird.
Yeah. So So on that terrible disappointment, Callum goes to his room and hops in the shower and is soon joined by Ada herself, who is not shy about nakedness.
I do love this about her, and everything that we learn about like her body image and her like body positivity. She's the best.
She's great. It's clear as they're showering that they both find each other attractive, and soon their banter turns into a tryst in the shower. There's a little bit of power play back and forth here, but they end up fucking against the wall in a pretty steamy, pun intended, scene. I'm so sorry.
We also get a picture of this.
That's right. We do get an artistic rendering of this tryst.
Yeah, which I was surprised by. Again, just being on KU, I didn't expect that.
I didn't either, but it is filthy.
It's not an unwelcome surprise.
No, it's not. And so not only did I personally enjoy the scene, but they also enjoyed the scene so much that neither of them really know what to do with the revelation that the other one is good in bed.
Yeah, and maybe like the best sex of their lives with the person that they hate. A little tricky.
I mean, but come on. There's just something about hate sex that hits different, you know?
Exactly. And I'm glad that this is how this scene happened, going back to what we were just talking about. I was worried how awkward and forced that first time was going to be. And I'm glad it was like this.
Yeah, me too. So time passes and Ada tells us that it's strange living in a house full of strangers. Nessa is the only one that she really gets along with, and she spends the majority of her time with Nessa, especially since they're both taking classes at a university nearby and they kind of like go to and from campus together. She tells us that she really enjoyed having sex with Callum, but they haven't had a repeat since, and she doesn't know how to get past that because she can't exactly get her fix from someone else.
Because they're married.
Because they're married. Faithfulness. In fact, Ada doesn't really see Callum much at all because he's been working and out of the house, which is obviously something that he doesn't include her in. When she does see him, he tells her that they have a fundraiser to go to that evening for his campaign. He has a very uncomfortable dress picked out for her, and she asks him, quote, "Do you have my lines ready for me too? Maybe you should just hang a placard around my neck with whatever you expect me to say."
So sassy about it.
So sassy.
I like their power play. He wins on the dress thing. Because he hides all of her other clothes, which I thought was hilarious.
Including her underwear.
Yeah, she's got nothing.
Mm-hmm. So at said fundraiser, Oliver shows back up, which galls Callum to no end. But Callum has to remind himself that Oliver's family has donated to his campaign, so like he has a reason to be there.
Whoops.
But speaking of uninvited guests or unwelcome guests, that dude Zajic is also there, and when he corners both Callum and Ada to speak, it's clear that he has a bone to pick with them. He says, quote, "I heard the happy news. I was disappointed not to receive an invitation or an inquiry from your father beforehand. You know I have 2 sons of my own, Ada. Poles and Italians work well together. I don't see you learning to love corned beef and cabbage."
That doesn't mean I'm going to like pierogies either, my guy.
Come on.
Also rude.
Very rude. He goes on to
I
tell
love corned
Callum...
beef and cabbage. And pierogies.
What's not to love?
I know.
You can have both.
Yeah. Well,
he goes on to tell Callum that he wants the Chicago Transit property once he's elected, but of course Callum says that he's going to consider all offers. The conversation effectively is over at that point, and Zajic leaves. At that point, Callum and Ada split up and work the room separately. Callum finds himself begrudgingly impressed by how Ada performs. But at some point, he looks over and sees Oliver following Ada out onto the balcony, and so he decides to snoop. He hides while he overhears their conversation. Oliver is begging Ada to take him back, but she's completely uninterested. She goes on to remind Oliver how he actually treated her when they were together. Specifically, when Oliver's uncle asked if they were together, Oliver told him that she was just a friend. Ada tells him, quote, "Because you like being a rebel, dating Enzo Gallo's daughter, but you didn't want to risk your trust fund or your spot on daddy's company. You didn't have the balls to admit what you actually wanted. Besides," she tells him, quote, "I have a ring on my finger. I got married, remember?"
And she's just delivering this so like flat. Like, I'm not excited about it either, but I'm also not interested in you. Goodbye.
Right. Like, I'd rather be here than where you are. So bye.
Yeah. Enjoy.
Oliver then tries to corner Ada against the railing despite her protests, and that makes Callum so irate that he attacks Oliver and beats his face in. Callum's father has to intervene and pulls him off Oliver and calls security. They immediately spin the story that Oliver attacked Ada and Callum and Ada leave immediately.
I mean, he did kind of attack her. He was like shoving his hand up her skirt.
Right. That's the thing that really got Callum to move, because we remember we said Ada doesn't have any underwear on and Callum's like, fuck.
You're like, I did this to her.
Yeah. In the car, though, Ada's furious. She tells him, quote, "Stay the fuck out of my personal life. Do you want to have a pretty little accessory on your arm? I did it. I came to your stupid party in this ugly dress, told people to support you. I'm holding up my end of the bargain. Who I dated before is none of your fucking business."
She's not wrong.
She's not wrong. But Callum just keeps pushing her, asking vulgar things like whether he's a better fuck than Oliver. So she slaps him, which turns his anger into lust, and they end up fucking in the car.
And it's excellent. Also, how big is this car? This guy's like 6'4", and they can fully lay down on the back seat. It doesn't matter. I'm just saying.
I mean, the details, okay? We get another illustration of this one, too, I would like to point out.
And it's hot. It's very hot.
Yeah, very hot.
I want more.
Beyond that, in the throes of passion, Callum calls Ada gorgeous, and she tells us, quote, "When he attacked Oliver, I thought it was out of pride, an annoyance that Oliver crashed his fundraiser and tried to put his hands on his property. I never imagined Callum might actually be jealous."
It's such a hot scene.
Yeah, it's pretty good, dude.
And like the jealousy trend in him, it's one of those things like in real life, it's not cute, but like in this book, it's really hot.
It really slaps. Yeah, especially for him, because he starts out being such an asshole of like, I don't need you. I don't like you. I'd like get out of my life.
I just want to control you. Goodbye.
Right. But that is where we're going to end our coverage of part 1. So join us in 2 weeks for the stunning conclusion to Brutal Prince and our ratings. But in the meantime, those are our thoughts on part 1 of Brutal Prince by Sophie Lark. Thank you, as always, for joining us on this journey. Let us know what you thought on the socials. You can find us on TikTok, YouTube, and Goodreads at Spice Traders Pod. And if you like our podcast and want more, consider becoming a patron, where we release bonus episodes on our off weeks. And if you really, really like us, drop us a review wherever you listen. Until next time, we'll see ya. Bye.
Bye.